All right, welcome to the latest installment of this series that I've been doing for a couple of weeks now. So I've been live streaming. I'm in between projects. I've been live streaming every day for a while now through this period, and I've been inviting people to do super chats if you want to do a vote on what I should work on next. And for most of the stream, I've been working on doing some coding in the block mining simulation game. So I'm going to resume work on that today. I didn't have much time to get prepared for the stream, so today, just before the stream, I figured out how to do debugging correctly with the how to properly attach to the game so I can actually debug it. I was confused on some of the last streams. I spent a lot of time messing with that, and I found out that apparently when you run it through Spring Boot, it'll fork the process, and I needed to add an extra parameter to not do that. And then the debugger seemed to work. I was also kind of, I think, overcomplicating it. Just didn't really know how to use the IDE. Okay. So I pushed some of the latest changes that I did last night with a couple bug fixes. Okay. Today is 08. 08. All right. I'm holding down the fort until others arrive. We got 6 concurrent viewers and 2 likes. Nice. All right. Now let's see if that thing I added just worked. So we'll open IntelliJ. JS Tall 311 says, "Yo, how's it going?" Man, that is incredibly slow. I used to love IntelliJ. You don't anymore? All right, now I should, in theory, just be able to hit debug now. And it should compile and run with the debugger. Connected. All right, now I can go pause. See, that doesn't look like all the threads. Is it started? Maybe it's not. Okay, now pause. And there we go. It looks like I've got all the threads now. So now I can actually debug. A few hours ago, I copied newer build files to an older branch. Everybody knows it was me that effed up. Embarrassing. Oops, I guess. I don't know what to advise you on that. I most likely still like it, but haven't used it in like 7 years because I've been in a .NET shop. So we use Visual Studio or Visual Studio Code. Yeah, I haven't. The last time I used any kind of IDE was Eclipse, like 10 years ago. Loved your work. Invisible Majority says loves your work in Encino. I don't know how to pronounce that. I don't know what that is, and I don't recognize what that statement is referring to. The man command is my favorite Linux command. Don't feel bad. Everyone makes mistakes. Yeah, I guess the best you can do is just kind of own up to it and hopefully indicate that you won't make the same mistakes again. You said you copied newer build files to an older branch. I guess if it's just like source control, then you can just revert it. But I guess what really matters is like what are the consequences of that? Does it break production, or is there a customer impact? That's really because if it's only like a mild inconvenience for a developer, then no harm, no foul. Not prod. Okay. Yeah, it's based on what you said. It's not clear what the impact would be. I mean, the generally right thing is to own your mistakes and just improve. But then sometimes, some workplaces will discourage that behavior and encourage you to like, everyone ends up being encouraged to like blame things on someone else or. Okay. So that config change works. That's great. That'll make debugging a lot easier. So the next thing was maybe to do some development. Tell them you had candy bars in your mind. I guess you can try that. Testers will just have to work late or start tomorrow. Worst case, look messy. Lose some trust. I guess it depends if like my opinion that like the worst type of employee is like someone who makes a mistake like that and then makes no attempt to correct it, or like blames it on someone else, or they like try to justify why it should be that way, or so much grief could be resolved in the world if some people just like own up to the fact that something isn't the way it should be and then they just fix it and move on. Oh, we got a super chat from Invisible Majority. And Encino Man was a movie starring Pauly Shore and Brendan Fraser. Also, Sam from Lord of the Rings was in it. Oh, okay. I've never heard of that. I don't watch movies starring Pauly Shore. I'm not sure who that is, or Brendan Fraser. I'm really out of the loop on popular culture that way. Thank you very much for the $5. It's a classic. 1987. Okay. Yeah, a lot of older movies. There's a huge backlog of older movies that are classics that I've just never seen at all. Nothing you can do but own up to it. Just minimize the impact of the mistake. Yeah, I'd say that's probably the biggest thing is like minimize the impact to other people. Like if it causes something, if it causes other people more work, that's annoying. But if it causes other people to lose face, like if the tester is like, or whoever depends on that, has some deadline, and then they get yelled at by their manager because of something someone else did. I think that's the thing that like burns in someone's brain. But if you're like, can you please do this thing? People will like gripe and complain about it, but they'll forget about that faster than if someone else caused them to lose face for something that was not their fault. So we got console writer thread. So the thing I did last night was I moved the help. Oh yeah, I forgot to actually check what state the help menu is in. So the thing I did yesterday was to change that help menu overlay that I'm building, to change it to be a user interface frame, which is consistent with how all the other stuff in the game is implemented. Interesting, the rock character overlaps on this. Literally copied from staging 123 to staging 120. Didn't read full path. Yeah, I did. I had messed up some stuff back in my first co-op. There was a thing. They wanted me to do something to like migrate their entire code base, and they were using what was it called? It was I think this was actually like just before Git was invented, or I think Git had like just been invented around this time, and they were using some kind of it wasn't SVN, it was I can't remember, it was some kind of Windows source control tool, and you had to like right click on stuff to like check out files, check them in. And since I had to do an operation that was on the entire code base, I did a checkout to check out the entire code base, because I had to like work on all the files, and I couldn't figure out how to do something, so I did an undo checkout, which I thought would undo my checkout, but I figured it would not check out. It would not undo the checkout of other people's stuff. And what happened was it unchecked out the files for everyone else. So anyone else who had files checked out, who was working on stuff, when they came in, their files were like I don't remember the TFS. So actually, they were migrating to Team Foundation Server. So it was the predecessor to Team Foundation Server. And so as soon as I noticed this, I was like, oh man, this is probably not good. I didn't even completely understand the implication of it, but I was like, well, I should probably tell them this, because it's, probably just in case it affects them. And apparently he said it is a good idea, because it's good that you mention it, because there was only like 3 people working on the team, and everyone just had to like write down like what files they were working on, and everyone, it was simple enough. They just go through the 10 files they were working on, and then like recheck them out to make sure they didn't lose their progress. But if I didn't tell them that, then they could they could check it out again, which would overwrite their local copy, and then they'd lose their progress. But because we kind of caught it, and then they were like, oh, okay, we need to like take 5 minutes aside to like, back up our files or something, then nobody had lost any progress, and it was not a big deal. But if you try to bury it or something, then that's, I think, when, people, when like a small problem turns into a big one. Hopefully you have coworkers that are understanding. They could also just try to chew you out or something anyway. Yeah, I mean, if it's only staging, then could be worse. We don't have staging at my workplace. Things go through a CI pipeline. Then if it passes, straight to prod. Nice. Have you checked out Git Plus JJ? Me personally, I've not. I've never heard of that. I know what you're talking about, but can't remember the name. Git is a huge step forward. Yeah, Git is actually pretty amazing. Yeah, what was it called? It was like it wasn't SV. I keep wanting to say SVN or something, but it wasn't. It was like a visual tool that was the predecessor to Team Foundation Server. VSS, maybe it was long ago now. Gave a sad face in the chat. We'll apologize in the morning. Well, I guess it doesn't. It's not super clear how much work it implies for other people, but as long as other people don't lose work, or as long as other people don't get blamed for the things that you did, that's what sticks with people. Robert, I'm jealous of your lack of vehicle operation. Every time I drive, there's always some sorts of goofiness that happens with other drivers. Yeah, having a vehicle is kind of a burden. The cost. You gotta pay for insurance. You gotta pay for parking. It's all kinds of requirements. Right, that's not needed. Got to pay for gas. Got to pay for your loan. If you didn't buy the vehicle, oh yeah, interest payments. Seeing all this line wrapping is making me realize what people used to go through with Java 640 by 40. Yeah, normally I put code and I monitor that's a bit better than this one, but for to accommodate the streaming, this is until I get like millions of dollars for better equipment, then this is the best you get. Let me think. don't understand anything you're doing on the screen, but sending my love. Oh, thank you for the kind sentiment. What a gorgeous world dominator. Paying for monitors. Trickle down domination. Everyone I see on the road is busy running around in the same rat race that I am. And everyone is angry and upset all the time. Yeah, there has been a lot more, like just walking around, I hear a lot of people like revving their engines and squealing their tires and yelling at each other. That happened ever since COVID. You're so welcome, Boo. Heart emoji. Oh, thank you for the affectionate emojis. How many viewers do you think are robots and not real people? It's hard to say. Because there's all types of varying, like different levels of sophistication. There's like, I'm sure like, for anyone who's like nation states and stuff can probably make pretty sophisticated and convincing like chatters and stuff. Like, I mean, it's very much within the realm of like whatever, regular software developer. I should make my own bot that like listens to my chat and just like chats mean things to me or something. That'd be kind of amusing. I, for one, feel like a robot. A lot of people feel like robots these days. The government is trying to train us to be all NPCs. I don't need that. Bots will be essential for world domination. Yes, I think they will be in the future. We should solve a CAPTCHA in the chat every so often, just to make sure. I think bots can like solve CAPTCHAs better than humans now. Training the rats. Training the rats in the rat race. Courses I'm taking for ethics and technology are like, wow, no wonder people voted Trump. Oh, really? Huh, that's interesting. I mean, I guess I can't really even think about how a course on ethics would lead to that implication. So obviously, bots are probably better at solving CAPTCHAs. Yeah. It's because you're a robot. He doesn't look like a robot. Those don't look like bot comments to me, but then again, maybe I'm just a bot. There's a bunch of diversity stuff thrown in like literature about white people bad in your ethics and technology course. That's weird. We will need to move to Axel Heiberg. We'll to move. I don't know if we can move an island to a different place. That seems like a tall. That will cost at least $1 million. And is it 2025 revised version? Yeah, I don't know that. I don't know what to say about that stuff. That's yeah, I would have kind of assumed, like in the past, I had to take some like ethics courses about like ethics and programming and stuff, and there were these like, they were called PD courses, and everyone hated them, and a lot of them are just like very bizarre, and some of them had like these kind of like overly like propagandized, like there would be these like multiple choice questions like an engineer has been promised that he would have some like time off and he would be able to go home early, or he would be able to go home at like, you know, the normal time, but something came up at work and his boss wants him to work until midnight. What should the engineer do in this situation? It's a multiple choice, like, you know, he should say, you know, I'm doing what I want and go home, or should like talk to his manager, try to negotiate, and like there's several different options. And like the correct answer was to just like submit and work late, and like every single like takeaway from it was just like you should be the most passive, submissive employee and always give in to what your employer wants, and in a way that was just like almost comical. It was just like, it was basically propaganda to convince you that as a engineer, you're supposed to just like always submit to the maximum and work as much as possible. Yeah, I think some of the courses, so technically I think the course, it was called PD. Now, when I did internships in the States, like technically, like I think it was actually kind of like a weird technical gray area where like we were like in training or something, like we were students studying down in the US. Like from our perspective, we were just working down there, but it was a training program sponsored by Cultural Vistas or something like that, either a J1 visa or, but I think the PD course was basically just like a made up concept, and the only reason it existed was to be able to justifiably say like, oh, we're students and we're in a training program, so like the course, that's our course material that we're studying. It was basically like a coursework we had to do while we were interns, but it had like nothing to do with, the actual internship. So I think I think the courses themselves were actually just marked by like other older students who were like a few years older, and some of the course material was just made up by them. So they just like made up nonsense. One of the questions was like, should a company hire a slightly more qualified person or someone of color to satisfy DEI metrics? Really? That's what's in the ethics course? Did it specifically mention DEI in the course? The answer was to hire the DEI metrics employee. I let out an audible gasp. Yeah, it's this whole DEI thing is kind of made my head spin. I never heard of it at all before. It was before COVID. I never heard of DEI in my entire life, and then suddenly it was everywhere. My ethics course was like, here's something messed up Uber did. The Cambridge Analytica scandal was a thing. They added a letter. It's DEIB now. Yeah, it's hopefully this stuff goes away. It makes my head spin. This is the first time I've heard of DEIB now. So now I have a new thing to learn about. Let's see. Yeah, I mean it's also everything is changing too much. Like if we have to learn DEI and then we have to learn DEIB, and like what will come after that? We have to learn what the new cool thing is, and it'll be a different set of rules to follow every 6 months. Yeah, DEIC, DEID, DEIE. actually find first wave woke stuff innovative, the middle wave cringe, third wave is reasonable, B equals belonging. I don't even want to think about it anymore. Let's just hire qualified people. Most important fact about DEI is the truth of how only one race is bad, and I've never committed the same acts. Yeah, I don't know. I don't even want to think about it anymore. I mean, even for the proponents of it, I think there's not even a consensus among the people who are into all that stuff about like how to properly administer that. There was, I mean, all the kinds of infighting and stuff. Let them figure out how things should be run, and then we can have a discussion about it. Not to go culture warrior, but it's interesting to me how much your chat is converging on like generic RW DEI bad stuff. Generic RW DEI bad. I'm not sure what RW means in that context, but right wing. I mean, one of the biggest issues is that there's no clear definition of like how to implement it. Like everyone who seems to be a proponent of it has like a different interpretation of it. Some people think it's like a way to go back over the, to get revenge for the last few hundred years of history, and then some people are still more like classically minded, like we should try to make equal outcomes for everyone. No, this might print something. I'll let you guys argue about that until your heart's content. Now I'll figure out this null pointer exception. Oh, did I reference the wrong one? Maybe. Are you making help menu or legend right now? I'm working on the like basically a menu when I press escape. Okay, I still don't see that, but when I press escape, I want there to be that overlay come up, and then eventually I'm gonna put stuff on it, and then when you press like the keys, you can navigate up and down to like select things. So you could have like quit and then like open new frame and stuff like that. I remember 2016 like it was now. Pretty sure the Bible says every time someone mentions politics on the internet, God creates a new software bug. That's probably accurate. YouTube going full 1984 in my comments. Oh, is it censoring you? Yeah, I guess that's probably a good feature of my. I'll probably keep on the censorship so we can know when we're being censored. Gender wage gap discussion disappeared as well. We don't need to go into that. What's all this about? So I am working on a terminal-based block mining simulation game. It's a game where you wander around, spam the M key to mine blocks in an infinite procedurally generated world. And right now I'm working on a help menu. I am apparently hijacking chat for my own gain. I guess. Editing videos tonight, paying the price for using a crap camera with green screen shoot. Okay, that compiles and runs. So the next thing is Let's do this. Actually, let's see if that shows anything. So I'm supposed to see some text, but I don't. Oh, that's why, because I am not launching the user interface thread. So it's probably, there's work going into its queue, and then it just never actually processes the work items, I think. That might work. I was looking into it recently. Elon Musk used to flaunt his LGBT inclusion metrics of his company on Twitter. Yeah, I don't have any commentary on that. We already covered one controversial topic for tonight. If you're programming Java, that makes me want to try to make a TY app in Kotlin. Yeah, terminal is there's something oddly satisfying about terminal interfaces. I rediscovered Bubble Tea and all their TY tool suite. On a side note, have you heard of a calzone? No, I haven't, actually. Tell me about calzones. My program crashed. Oh, that's not good. It's null. Oh, that's why. Because of that. Because FD is null. That makes sense. Calzone is like pita pocket, but better. Excellent. I should look into bubble tea as soon as this World Domination meeting adjourns. I also realized recently that a lot of food colorings in the US are a byproduct of oil refinement. Yeah, that makes sense. They had to have to get rid of that toxic waste somehow. So that why not just sell it to people as food? Now, gotta figure out. So I think in I guess it makes sense that These things, frame dimensions are not set. But I guess I'm still gonna have to that might do it. It's all natural. Naturally found oil reserves. Natural atoms. All right, it didn't crash. Oh wow, look at that. It's doing the thing that it's supposed to do. Nice. I heard in order to qualify as natural, it just means it has to come from Earth. Well, everything comes from Earth. Heading out. Have a good one. Have a good night. I also recently did some electrical work on on the smallest electrical panel ever. It had maybe 3 circuit breakers for the entire house. Absolutely insane. Interesting. Corpse Diplomatique says, and can we help? In relation to the title about the world domination, sure, I guess. It's common for apartments in Japan. Interesting. the next thing will be for that function, so we'll have to add an extra optional argument to this that specifies what buffer it's writing to. All right, will this work? Uh-huh. GFCI is built into the main breaker and 3/4 breakers for the apartment. Grounding is not commonplace. Interesting. So in Japan, they don't have a giant copper ground rod that everything's supposed to attach to. Can I be in charge of training soldiers how to march? I'm picturing a variation of Monty Python's Silly Walk. Maybe, but we'll see. We gotta get some money first, and then start building our base up on Axel Heiberg. Anyway, popped in to say that I have learned quite a bit from watching your programming sessions. I'm currently scoping planning my first major programming project, a CLI writing application. That's good. I guess I wouldn't have thought people would learn much from my IntelliJ sessions. Honestly, I'm not well, I guess where you can learn stuff, there might be individual nuggets of information, but honestly, my practices are probably kind of getting out of date now. A lot of the way I do stuff is antiquated. But I did learn, I think I made some meaningful progress in setting this thing up with debugging and whatnot. Curious if anyone has seen UFOs. I see them all the time, but everyone online calls me crazy. I actually, I saw, I guess it depends on where you are. I saw a YouTube Shorts of like he's like a military blogger type person. He always does like these little shorts videos about like armaments and stuff, and like drones in Ukraine and whatnot. And he said there was some official report. I forget, it was there was a couple of drones that flew over a military base in I forget the city name. I think it was on the eastern coast somewhere. But apparently there was an incident that happened last year. It was just like talked about, first really publicly disclosed now that a year ago there were a couple like drones that flew over the base, and according to like whoever investigates them said that they were using a frequency band that is not commonly used from commercial drones. So I think the implication is not like aliens, but it was like probably like small reconnaissance aircraft that was like maybe used by Iran or something. Iran or China. Brendan Fraser sends 169. Thank you very much. Cult fee. Thanks. I saw a meteor in the evening with a bright green flash for a few seconds in the distance. No UFOs. Yeah, I've seen a few meteors over the years. I'm not copying your methods or choice of language tooling. It's more about your attitude, personal disposition, wherein you constantly chip away, causing me to realize I need more patience. Yeah, honestly, if you like, I've noticed this for a few projects that I did. If you set like an absolute hard goal of like work on something for 5 minutes a day, and like not like instantly quit it 5 minutes, but like set a goal of like do something, like do enough work on something so that you could write a journal entry to say like I opened the thing, I like clicked on a config or something. And if you do that every day, you can get quite a bit done. And I think that the biggest reason for it actually is it's the spaced repetition. It's the fact that when you come back to it every day, it's like you can recall what you were doing, so you can immediately make progress from where you were. You don't have to like if I go away from this for a month and come back, I'll completely forget everything. And even that happened with what was it? I think when I was doing this once a week, I made some progress on the debugger and stuff, and with setting up remote debugging, and I completely forgot how to do that, and then I had to like go back and watch the stream and stuff like that. But now that I've been doing that for a couple of days, it's instantly there, so I don't have to like waste so much time, going back to it. But then also so it's faster to make incremental progress, but also the spaced repetition burns it into your mind more because you saw it, on a kind of daily basis for a while. All right, so this is working, and I presume that would mean it's probably writing to the right buffer. Now the next step will be to basically replicate what's in here in the other class. So I'll probably have to make another message type for that. Because I don't yet have a way to communicate that between threads. Fail fast, fail safe, and slow is fast. I have a ticket from 2 years ago in my queue. Nice. Rings true to me. It is how I learned 3D modeling in Linux. Both run deep and require memorization, so I chipped away. Use spaced repetition. Programming requires more of this. Yep, you could spend lifetimes on it. 2 years. That's not very fast. I won't try to pronounce that, but someone says, "Hey, how's it going?" Is that an Icelandic name? It looks Russian to me. That character in the center. My guess is Russian. Or Ukrainian, maybe. Or one of those parts of the world. Cyrillic? Yeah, one of those languages. Okay, I think this will invalidate the screen where I want it to. That worked a minute ago, didn't it? the type is wrong. Oh yeah, that's totally wrong. Argument mismatch. Oh, that makes sense. will this crash? Do you still go on a lot of networking events, conferences, or not? I honestly have not done much of that since before COVID. Actually, it was just before COVID that that was like one of my bigger contracts fell through spectacularly, or the company went bust, and that's when I was kind of that's when I went out to hustle for more contracts and try to network and be like, okay, I've done this before, and that was kind of the first period where I was like, this is like, I've been doing this for a while now. Like at that point, I'd been doing it for 5 years, and I was like, this is not really working out so much. And it was a few months later that COVID happened, and then COVID seems to have broken the back of a lot of that stuff. And then, so I used to go to, I actually even used to pay for a meetup.com membership, and I used to host my own events and stuff, and that was a positive experience. That's something like I would recommend doing that if the world was the way it was in 2019, or like prior to that. But since then, I think it was kind of around COVID where I was like, things have been, I'm kind of behind the times, and like going out to these in-person events is not a scalable way to like interact with people and stuff. I mean, like, streaming and making videos is a way to reach more people, although it's not necessarily the same. It's always better to just meet people in person, but that's why I've just been like, should I go to meetups and stuff? If I had way more money and time, I probably would go out to more of those. But I've just been, I feel like I've been running on a hamster wheel trying to catch up with all the various things, trying to pay rent. I worked a little bit on my testimony for the next hearing today at the tenant board. I have to submit evidence 7 days in advance, so I'm kind of finishing that up now, and then I can basically forget about it. I forgot to test the thing that I was actually trying to test. The help menu. Yeah, actually, I think it was maybe even just a year ago. Like there was, I think I went back up on meetup.com. And I thought, I'll check to see what are the meetups that I used to go to, are they still around? And there was tons of meetups in there, but they were all like online ones. And I like to go to conferences with free food. Most of the time, they are filled with salespeople only looking to sell expensive subscriptions to buggy software. Yeah, it's also, I think it makes sense to go to them if you have a specific thing you're looking for. But if you go to, depending on what networking event you go to, usually I find when someone, if someone gets laid off or something, one of the main things they'll do is they'll be like, hey, I'll just go to all the networking events. So I find if you go through a period where I'll just look up all the local networking events in the area and just go to all of them. There's a lot of people in that same boat, so you'll kind of meet the same people over and over again, which is actually, that can be a good thing. Because I find to build, relationships and networks and stuff, it's not if you go to a meetup event and you meet one person one time, almost certainly you're not going to follow up or anything. But if you go to a meetup, you have a good conversation or something, or it's, even if you're just it's a casual interaction, you're not trying to sell each other or anything, and then you go to, say, the next networking meetup, and then you're talking to people and you see that same person again there, then you're like, oh, okay, I remember talking to you, this person was, interesting from last time, and then for the other people there, you seem like you're a popular person because you know all the other regulars at the meetup and stuff, and that's kind of how you can build up your network. But as you say, a lot of it's like a kind of thin. Oh, nice. It's working. Yeah, a lot of it's just like people throwing business cards at you and stuff. And I go home with like 50 business cards, and I think I still have them somewhere. I haven't looked at them in like 7 years. And there was another kind of like prominent, I don't know, tech hub or whatever in the area, and I remember looking up. I looked at them once, and they didn't have any events, and then I was like, oh, it kind of looks like things are getting started now again after people are like, events are starting after COVID, because I saw they had one like meetup at the pub that was in that little plaza, and it was just to talk about startups or whatever. And I thought, oh, maybe I should put it on my list to go to the next one. And then I looked back, and like their events calendar is just totally blank for like months in advance, and they never have anything anymore. So that's kind of gone by the wayside. There's a Communitech here, which they have events, but they're kind of I don't know. They're not the kind of like homebrew grassroots startup stuff that it almost seems like government people giving like really boring presentations about stuff, and they're only attended by like other people who are there like on the government payroll or something, or just like people who work at the Communitech Center who are just they're just killing time. They have something to do for their lunch, so they go there and eat and watch a presentation. Let's see. Next is, now I'm going to get back to the same help menu that I had. In the world of cybersecurity, are we like going to capture the flag events? They root out the salespeople are almost always 100% engineers. Interesting. Are those in-person physical events? A lot of hybrid, so you can participate remotely. Pretty soon we'll have AIs that will remotely participate. I saw some articles recently about there's schools have like problems with ghost students that are like AI things or something that are like partially controlled by a person, and that attend remotely, and it's some kind of like scam to get money from the government. Right, that might actually put me pretty close to what I want. I watched a whole video today about a recruiter talking about fake AI bot candidates applying to take AI created job listings. It's insane. Yeah, it's the world is like it's getting hard to like even as someone who works with technology and I would argue can understand AI. It's getting like to properly integrate what's going on in the world is starting to get crazy. Like I made I don't know if you watched my video about immigration and the college system, and I mentioned one of the topics I brought up in that video was plagiarism, and I talked about that from plagiarism from my perspective back then, but one of the things I didn't even think to consider, otherwise the video would be even longer, is the concept of AI in plagiarism now. Because back when that was only a few years ago when there was like maybe 6 years ago was when I last, a little bit more than that, 6.5 years ago when I last taught there, and like the landscape of using AI to cheat back then was basically non-existent, and now it's like, ChatGPT. It would make it. I can't even imagine designing the courses to try and be like cheat resistant now. Like I just don't know what's gonna. I think it's the AI is just gonna win. So it looks like I can't turn it off. Well, I wonder if I'm actually toggling. All right, that's doing what it's supposed to. Yeah, dealing with AI stuff now, like trying to filter out AI garbage, is like even if you're a tech person, you're still just getting used to that. But for like old people, like there's a guy in this building who I've talked to about the renovation, and he does not have a mobile phone, and he does not have internet. He doesn't have a computer, and he listens to the radio. That's one of the things he does in his spare time. So think about like him versus like AI scam calls and stuff. Let me think. So jealous dude is living off the grid inside of it. He's like 80 years old or so, and he's lived in this building for 29 years, and they're trying to evict him. Gotta respect the commitment to the radio. I would imagine he uses both. Let's see. So that's doing what it's supposed to, I think. What if I do this? Interesting. That is annoying. I had hoped that would just work. That's interesting. I can see someone hearting the stream with 17 likes. Let's see what this does. As I suspected, you know, I wonder if it's just writing to the wrong layer. So that's supposed to write to buffer index menu. So we can update it, but when I want to clear it, it's not getting cleared. Bubble Zone mouse TUI looks sweet. I seem to remember this. I remember Bubble Zone something in a previous stream. I forget what that was, if we referenced that before. Theoretically, this code should work, because it works in the other thread. Maybe it's a timing issue. Oh, maybe it doesn't actually process those. Maybe that's the problem. Oh, I could just use the debugger, because I have that working now. Help menu. Oh, actually, I won't be able to test that in this because I can't send the escape key. I'd have to bind it to another key. Control escape. Oh, will that work? Let's try it. Let's see, what was I going to check? Oh yeah. Console. X offset, Y offset. Buffer index. All right, that should be working. It acts almost like it's updating the wrong. Will there be a block mining leaderboard? Potentially. There's limitless possibilities. Okay, let's try control escape. Oh, that actually worked. Interesting. Thanks for the tip. But that illustrates the same bug here. But now we can breakpoint it. Let me go. Buffer index is 1. Just finished setting up my desktop after a few months of remodeling my computer room. Nice. Let's start Y and Y. Is that what I'm using correctly? Makes sense. Control escape worked. Yes, I never knew that was a hotkey. I've noticed Windows and a couple Linux distros treat Control C shortcuts like normal, except to work in application, like Alt Tab. Yeah, I don't know my keyboard shortcuts that well. There's all sorts of weird things about like control this and that or Windows key. I can never remember them. Efficiency in browsing. Yeah, also the another one that's amazingly useful that some people don't know about is Shift to scroll sideways. AR-Dev1 says, "Hey man, how's it going?" Mosaic, a tool for building console UI using the Jetpack Compose compiler runtime. Neat. How are you doing? I'm pretty good. I'm getting a bit of progress on my terminal block mining simulation game tonight. Although I've got a weird bug where I'm trying to get it to reprint some data in a buffer, and it's not doing it right. Forgot about that because I use so many touchscreens. Now let's see. I don't think I'll get any. The problem is I can't think of a good test to do other than just like stepping through a million things. It seems like it is actually like writing. So if I change it to put a space there instead of null when it's inactive, then that works. Our I/O is changing rapidly. I've heard anecdotes of children being handed video game controllers and not knowing how to use them because they grew up on a phone. Yeah, I've heard about that too. And a lot of young people now like have no idea how to use a mouse or keyboard, and they just like immediately put their hands on the screen. An Interpoint Station says, "Can you write a program that tells me how many licks it takes to get to the center of a Tootsie Pop. You probably could make a program that does that. You'd have to figure out like mostly it'd just be like a finite calculation. You'd have to figure out I don't know how many microns of Tootsie Pop each lick takes, and then you have to precisely calculate the thickness of the Tootsie Pop. But also there's probably some variation too there, so it's probably not a precise number for all of them. But if you had some like precise instrumentation, you could measure every Tootsie Pop individually to get the exact. You could use calipers probably to calculate it on a per Tootsie Pop basis. I recommend instead you get a click counter. Manual text solution was created long ago. You could simulate fluid dynamics and friction. Also, will you upgrade the licensing from 2024 to 2025? Oh yeah, I forgot to do that. Also factor in whether said Tootsie Pop is exposed to direct sunlight and the latitude. I don't know, would sunlight make a big difference? Or the latitude? I would assume it wouldn't make too much of a difference. Probably also depends how much force you put onto it. It's probably not all licks of a Tootsie Pop would be equal. Maybe this should be up here. What happens if I do this? Wind speed. Some licks would be more dry than others. Maybe. Oh, that's closer, but it's still buggy. Oh man, what an annoying bug. Negative geometry. I'm not familiar with what that is. I don't think you're a retard. You gotta give yourself some credit. I wonder if negative or infinite geometry. So you're playing a game, and some random actually gets stretched to infinity, gets deformed. It'll leave a streak through the level. Yeah, I'm not familiar with that specific term, negative geometry, but there are all kinds of like crazy non-Euclidean geometries, like Riemann projections, and there's all kinds of crazy math stuff that I don't know, but Cat Face sends $2. What was your favorite teacher moment in your experience? Favorite teacher moment. There were a few like interesting learnings I had about like how to motivate people and stuff. And in general, I realized how I think people's like, personal identity, like how they see themselves, like how they define their social role in a group, really impacts their behavior. Like I remember there was a lab I did with like, it was something of 40-something students in the lab, and we had to do like 9 lab demos times these 40-something students. So it's like hundreds and hundreds of lab demos. Like when you think it's just so many lab demos to get through. Actually, it might have been more than. I remember the total number of lab demos I had to hear was something like 300 and something. So what is that? 9 times 40 something is 360 something. It was a lot of lab demos. Anyway, there was one student that I had asked me a question about something, and about like it was about SQL injections, I think, and I explained to her how this thing worked, and she was quite shy initially, and I explained to her how to do this question. And then someone came up to me and asked the exact same question, and then because like 1,000 people were asking me questions, and like so I had to go help other people. At the time, I just said, "Oh, actually, ask her. She's an expert at this," because I just explained to her. So I was like, "Oh, you can just tell this person what I told you." And she seemed like kind of surprised, and I noticed her behavior seemed to change after that. I mean, maybe I'm reading into it too much, but after that, I noticed that other people kept like she would explain things to other people more, and then that kind of created a feedback loop where other people would come to her more, and she'd explain things more, and then she kind of became the like that one in her group that everyone was. She was like the smart one in the group, and then everyone asked her questions, and then she seemed to kind of lean into that role. And that made me kind of think a bit more about if you want to motivate people and make build strong, confident people, if you can just put people in a position where they can fulfill that social role and actually give something back to people, people kind of imprint on that, and I guess it probably also depends. You have to catch them at the right time. That's a good way to put it. Non-Euclidean. Yeah, there's tons of non-Euclidean geometries and sets, and I don't know that stuff very much, but what was the highest amount someone donated to you? Just asking. I think someone during my, so if you go back to my live stream with live streaming until I get 1,024 in super chat donations. I think there was someone who gave $200 for that one. It was a guy who he had this thing called the Hack Matrix. Although after that, I asked him if he wanted to like promote it or talk about it a bit. I talked about his project in the next couple of streams, but then he had a bunch of YouTube videos, and he turned off his channel, or he like took away a lot of his videos. So I'm not sure if he really wanted stuff promoted or not, but it was an interesting project. The source of the bug is probably more than likely a syntax error. In this program, it wouldn't be a syntax error because it wouldn't compile SQL injections. How do I use to mod Sony PSPs? Really, I've never modded a PSP. I was not aware that PSPs have a database server on them. See, is that like that? Teaching moment is how we know you'll be a great world dominator. Oh yes. Thanks for believing me. Nonsense, $2. Thank you very much. Let's see. So this is basically the exact same code that worked. But in the other thread, it doesn't work. Which OS do you like? Any Linux-based OS. Ubuntu is pretty good. I think you did it to the EEPROM. It's been so long. What do you mean by that? I do have one video on an EEPROM, but What do you mean by? I think you did it. Me too. They're lightweight and don't have useless software. Yeah, Windows is getting pretty bad now. From what I understand, it takes a long time. Every time you get a machine, you got to deinstall all this bloatware and stuff. How you modded PSPs? Interesting. So you have to like desolder the EEPROM and reprogram it. Windows 11 is so bad. Yeah, I've heard. I wouldn't know. I've been off of the Windows situation for years. Oh, that might be why. The problem might be because I'm doing it from another thread. When I send write requests, they get queued because they have to be queued because the whole point of this thread was to basically handle all the I/O from the terminal. So when I send the request to invalidate parts of the screen, it's invalidating the screen before I updated it. I think that might be the problem. But I guess that presents another problem. So I gotta figure out way to my next PC will be with Tux. Excellent. The window tiling in Windows 11 is really nice. It probably is. And they put a lot of effort into like fancy animations and stuff, things that slow down your computer. No, you could get it to take from an SD card if the battery is programmed to put the PSP into service mode. Need a tool to change the battery into that mode. Interesting. Do you get frustrated while programming and getting a bug? It depends what you mean by frustrated. The psychological state of being frustrated could mean lots of different things to different people. I guess because I have done it so much, I've debugged so many difficult bugs. Usually I find when I'm debugging, I'm always thinking like, what is an experiment? What is like a scientific experiment that I could do to root cause the bug? So if I can figure out what the cause of the bug is, I can understand why it happens. Then it's just a matter of work to figure it out. I didn't like my taskbar being centered. My first thought was, damn Bill, you can't keep it to the left. Bill's not involved anymore. It's just a soulless corporation designed to extract value for shareholders now. So it needs to do that. Then the screen needs to update. It is syntax error, just not code syntax, but execution syntax. I don't know. I think you'd. I don't think I've ever heard of someone refer to syntax errors as being like the syntax of the program execution in that way before. I know this isn't what you made the channel to do, but I watched your recent videos and I think you're a fairly gifted political commentator. Could be a good opportunity for you. Yeah, I'd kind of like to keep it. I'd like to at least keep my core focus on the tech stuff. I mean, I think it makes sense to have some consistent theme in life, as opposed to like chasing the next, constantly changing and pivoting and stuff. But I probably won't do any more videos on immigration. But there's other things where like technology intersects with like certain, political and geopolitical things. So I have some ideas for those, but right now I'm kind of in between stuff. So that's why I'm just like live streaming every day, which helps top up the revenue a bit. And then I'm also getting some work done on my block mining game. How it's done now is trying to do both at once, same space. Maybe you could move this bit off screen. How it's done now is it's trying to do both at once in the same space. Maybe you could do move bit off screen. Can't be done at a different time. It's the bug is about like the sequence of how the messages are processed in the thread. Bill never had a soul. That's the guy that pined him in the face. I did tell you I'm a retard. You don't have to talk negatively about yourself. It takes time for people to learn about stuff. I would love it if you had a video polling people on the street about their thoughts about us Albertan separatists. That would be very different from my my content. I've noticed like when I talk to some people here, like if you watch the sentiment in the mainstream media, that's like it's like Trump bad, Orange Man bad, Carney is going to unite us. There definitely are people I talk to who are very, very aligned with the way the mainstream media talks, and that's their actual opinion. So I mean, I would, based on interactions I've had, I would believe the results of the election. It does seem like there are enough people who would have voted for Carney. So based on that, you can imagine how they would feel about the Alberta separatism. I'm making a psychological horror game with no experience in Godot. I'm learning as I go. I've programmed simple programs, but never used GD. So if y'all have tips, I appreciate that. Honestly, I would actually not even consider myself a game programmer. I've never used Godot, and I don't know anything about it or like kind of game programming in general. Most of my experience has been like pretty much what I'm doing, like server-based stuff, operating system development, some embedded stuff. Devil on the shoulder makes me sad. You can, I don't know, the way you mentally frame stuff can certainly have an impact on outcomes. Just like with that story I talked about with the student, how I was basically just joking at the time when I said like, oh, ask her, she's an expert, and like her eyes kind of bulged at the time, and I think she thought it was serious, even though it was just joking, but because she thought about it that way, and then went with that mentality. I mean, I might be overreading, and maybe I'm kind of imagining this, but she definitely did seem to, really take it upon herself to teach people in the long term, and she was an excellent student by the end of it. How about a man on the street interview about sudo being written in Rust in the new Ubuntu release? Yeah, I've often thought it would be interesting to like just talk to like random normal people and ask them if they like recognize like Richard Stallman or something, or give them opinions on various things. I just wish the orange man would give out free orange juice straight. Yeah, that would be nice. We got to pay more for it now because we don't grow our own. If you're 21 and lost didn't know what career you wanted to pick, what career would you pick? I think lots of people ask about like kind of which career path to go into. I would say it makes sense to look into like what the answer depends on where you are and where you live. So what is their demand for in the country that you live in? Because the job prospects are different places. I don't know. It kind of also depends, like if you're rural or urban. I think if you were like if I was starting here today, I think it would probably make more sense to start like in a rural area, do some kind of business, rural like construction or something, or oil and gas. Yeah, I have no opinion on it, but if Squeak says oil and gas is working for him, then maybe it is the right thing to go and do. Although I don't know if there's uncertainty about tariffs and stuff, or hopefully that industry doesn't fall apart. That's basically the only thing keeping our economy going. Ask random people to rank Linux distros by logo. Someone mentioned Orange Man. This is summoning me back to chat. I make up to $9.50 a day on a regular day. Wow, that's pretty nice. Took 3 years to get to this level. Man, that's good money. Make sure you don't get into don't start any vices or any things that, and try to just bank that money, because it may that source of revenue may disappear, and then you'll be back to making $5 a day. God casually creates a new block mining bug. And with no experience, if we separate, we'll be wealthy as Dubai. Yeah, I've heard some like political strategists suggest that like this whole and actually they particularly predicted before the election that Carney would get in, and they would have this kind of like fake constitutional crisis, which we're basically having right now. And then the conclusion of that is going to be that we don't split up, and then we live like happily ever after, and we're united and more Canadian than ever, and kind of settles the constitutional crisis in Canada for once and for all. These are some people that like try to they do research on like market predictions and stuff. So they're trying to figure like what the geopolitical outcome is going to be. So who knows if that'll happen? That seems like the kind of thing that would happen, where we just have this like fake constitutional crisis, and then they put it in the news for a while and then get rid of it. How do you get started? And what education do you need for fracking? I don't know anything about that. Asking, is an American, is the Alberta secession stuff serious? It's being pitched as serious. I don't know if I know that there's significant support for it, but I don't know if it's quite at the tipping point where it's like going to happen or not. But more Canadian than Canadian. If you don't have class 1, we give it to you. 42% support at the moment. That's significant, but I don't know if is it enough to like tip it over. Basically, that still means like there's like 60% of the population could protest against it. I don't know. I don't have a strong. Like if it was like 70% or something, then I'd be like, okay, it's a done deal. But it's 42% is enough, or like just regardless of like whether there's a legal nexus to do it. I'm just thinking about it in practical terms. Like you can still if there's only 42%, you can still have enough like normal looking people to go out and protest, and then in the rest of Canada they'll blast that in the news, be like, the controversial extremists are trying to separate, and these counter protesters, and then they'll show a bunch of images of that. So without doing any real advertising, sounds like the Greater Idaho Movement. Yeah, I mean, when you look at the all the stuff about like equalization payments and voting and stuff like that is, I mean, Alberta, I'm actually kind of surprised that they're not more angry, but Lesser Idaho. Feels more like if Colorado wanted to leave U.S. for some reason. That's just them starting the movement and asking who's in support. A lot of people think it means joining the USA. It just means sovereignty. Yeah, I mean, I completely understand their position. I'm kind of surprised at why there's not more people that want to separate, because like the question is, I mean, it is a really good question. What exactly does the rest of Canada do for Alberta? And the rest of the country just kind of leeches off them. And that would be treason. In Canada, there's a legal process for secession. Political discourse is my favorite type of discourse. Of course, but how would Alberta export stuff if it leaves? I think the pipeline just goes through Alberta into the States. So I think they could just export it. Like, I think the pipeline's already there, if I'm correct. And I guess if BC joins them, then they can, the coast is right there. I love Rob and Doug Ford. Yeah. So it doesn't go through the rest of Canada. No, we've been trying for like 100 years, for like 30 years, saying like we should build a pipeline, and there's like massive opposition. So our pipeline to get oil, to get petroleum products to the East Coast, it has to go outside of Canada into the U.S. and then back into Canada. And that's one of the things, like when all this trade tariff started, some politicians were like, we'll shut off the exports, oil exports to the US, but that would mean cutting off the rest of our own country, because like if we're going to cut the US off, then like they could retaliate, and the physical pipe is in the US. Basically, Canada's reliant on the US. Yep. We sell it at like 1/3 of what it's worth. We rebuy it at a premium. Yeah, there's a lot of. I mean, it seems so ridiculous that it almost seems like there's some bigger force going on, like the US is like interfering in our country to try and get this deal. So it's a great deal for the US to get it at 1/3 of the price. What does Alberta do when oil becomes obsolete? That will happen someday, but it's absolutely not in the near future. It's going to be a very long time before we reach. We get rid of like ambulances. Ambulances still run on. I don't think we have any electric ambulances yet. Let me think. I'll probably have to. I'm gonna make a. Maybe I'll make this. There's a lot of chats going on there. Used in 6,000 products, it'll never be obsolete. I mean, really before we get rid of oil, we have to have the replacement ready, and we haven't done anything on that. I thought we basically reached peak oil production. We use more and more energy every year, and like our existing renewables, just the production just isn't there. I think actually coal consumption is going up too. Demand for grease is near the same for refined petroleum. The one thing I'm jealous of is Edison Motors being stationed out of Canada. What I mean by obsolete is Alberta won't be able to keep milking that cash cow. I think they will for quite a while. Like it's as of today, like Canada is a petroleum state. I think most of our money, even today, comes from export of petroleum. And if it ever does start to go down, we can always diversify away from it. I mean, the smart thing to do would be like, it's profitable, make money off of it, and then use the proceeds and invest in like renewables or invest in the off-ramp. Because right now we have like the real estate Ponzi scheme and a bit of oil in Alberta, and that's the only thing going for our economy. That and YouTubers. Problem isn't supply, it's demand. Bradley sends $2. American oil, frick yeah. Thank you for the $2. Canada's ramping up ammonia production. Yeah, ammonia is used for a bunch of stuff, fertilizer and also weapons manufacturing. Okay, we'll make this generic, console generic work item. Anhydrous ammonia is great. I've tried to get my company to change to one of our frac pumps to run on it. Everyone looked at me like I was trying to commit war crimes. Interesting. I don't know anything about that industry. Can't wait until we are living in a post-energy scarcity economy. Oh wait, we're going back to one. Not once we relocate our civilization up to Axel Heiberg. Maybe if we started to build nuclear again. Yeah, we have like what Germany did with its nuclear reactors was kind of crazy. I think there was a lot of like weird like interest groups and lobbying that pressured them to not to shut down all their nuclear reactors at like the worst time possible. Never underestimate human ingenuity, capacity to change. 150 years ago, we were burning whale oil, cleaning up horse manure. I don't know. We have energy itself is like it's an intrinsic property of the universe, so we'll probably continue to have a scarcity of it. It's not like unless we can like bend the laws of physics to create infinite energy. We'll find new ways to get energy, but it'll just be food for warmth and scarcity. The coldest I've been was in minus 64. Wow. I think you need to look at temps and wind speeds. Not enough material on Earth to make nuclear viable. Not enough material on Earth? I thought there was like enough thorium for like millions and millions of years. I'm not as far north as your island. We could harvest helium-2. I thought there's like more than enough. Like even you can go to like the ground and concentrate. You can find tons of thorium everywhere. We're working late. Still streaming. Yep. I think I'm close to fixing the bug. Invalid method declaration. Also queuable. Return type required. The train is angry out there. Oh, that's why. We just need to hit the infinite banana glitch. Yep, if we could do that, that would solve all of our problems. We should purchase Google with the funds from your live stream. That's a good idea. I want to say I helped buy. All I did was give you. I want to say I helped buy. But all I give is give you a keyboard shortcut. Actually, that keyboard shortcut is going to be extremely useful. I was kind of resolved to be like, and I thought about like maybe I'll just change the key binding or something. That must be. I assume you've probably never used IntelliJ before, so that must be like a generic thing that works everywhere. Console queuable work item is public. Console queuable work item. Did I spell that wrong? QUEUE QUEUE work item. QUEUE work item. Infinite bananas equals infinite radioactive potassium. You know, that potassium isotope that's radioactive, that's like, I think, one of the most radioactive things in the human body. And that and I think polonium, if you smoke, the second highest source is polonium from the leaves. Have you been using Apache Maven for the duration of your Java life? Pretty much. Sometimes I just use bare Java C. You could do some kind of gimmick donation stream, like solving leak code problems, but each time a donor happens, you have to restart. Yeah, there's lots of ideas I could use for, there's lots of just funny gimmick, like, if you donate, this happens. I like ones that are just kind of simple. I was actually kind of thinking of, like, for my next, like, mobile live stream is do like live stream walking until I generate X dollars in donations, and I'll just like I probably have to figure out something to do, like battery power with my phone, but I could do like go walk somewhere for like 12 hours, walk 100 kilometers. I promise you I've never used any compiler. There's still time. Gimmicky live streams would definitely bring in paying nonces. Yeah, that's kind of what my previous ones were. I think this one is kind of similar. Well, bedtime for me. I have to drive 800 kilometers tomorrow and pick up some frac iron. The pipe we pump. I have a Geiger counter in my room. It's fun to measure cesium 137 dosimeters with. Interesting. Well, have a good night. Thanks for stopping by. Let's see, cannot find console writer thread state. That's not what I want. It would be cool if there were like an insane asylum stream on Twitch under the just chatting category. I mean, they should have a. I mean, in some ways, that's there's a lot of channels that would fall under that category. or it's just a padded room with CTS available. I mean, I think there's probably lots of streams that could almost fall into that category. All right. All right, that is still broken, but I think I've restructured. I think with this new queuable work item type, I can make those screen area updates queuable, and then they should all get batched together. So the next thing to do will be to make that other class the console screen change states work item. That one will do the actual call. And in the do work method, we just add it to the queue so it gets deferred. And if everything works, this will totally fix everything. It'll all just work perfectly. Is this live stream secretly a vibe coding session? It's a coding session with good vibes. But if it was secretly like vibe coding, I used to think when I first heard vibe coding, I thought, oh, it's all about just coding with good vibes. But then I later realized it's specifically about AI prompts and stuff. But if there was secretly an AI prompt, it'd be hidden well. Compatible types cannot be converted to console write work item. That makes sense because there we go. Robert is secretly a robot, confirmed. The denial is very ChatGPT-like. It's because when I'm coding, my all my CPU cycles are stolen by trying to code, but then multitasking with chat is difficult. Okay, let's see if it works. There we go. Oh, wow. Amazing. That is really awesome. It's so great when things like that just work. Because if it doesn't work, it's like so hard to debug and fix. Okay, so I'm basically back to where I was 2 days ago, but the way it's structured in the code is totally independent, and now I can, in that little green area, I can draw, like, I can use any of the other text drawing functions, and it's basically on a separate layer in the program, or it's a separate screen buffer, basically. And if I have a need for more screen buffers in the future, then the whole model is there. I know programming, but not half of what that meant. Yeah, it's the kind of thing that it would only make sense if you've spent a whole bunch of time reading the code and understanding how I wrote this program. So Robert the Beloved would have to answer by saying he cannot answer your question. If he was, GPT bot. Or I could say, as an AI language model, I am not an AI language model. All right, let's rename a couple of variables that are not well named. QUE. Okay, there was that, and then there was something else I wanted to rename. Morning from Latvia. It's currently 1:24 a.m. here. You could use that new frame buffer to scan mining blobs before investing in the mining process. I guess. pending queuable. Okay, add and pending and pending. I bet if you talk Gen Alpha language, you'll get more viewers. Maybe. I don't even know. What do I just say? Just skibbity toilet and on God? Is that a thing they say? I don't. Bet and mid. Those are common Zoomer phrases, or Gen Alpha. I don't know, there's too many generations now. Man, I'm getting old. Bet is a good. Bet is a. Go to one. Is that a typo, or I don't even know. It's like a whole subset of a language. Everyone's on the internet all the time, though, too. So a lot of this language, you have to say cooked and crashed. I'm gonna crash out and be cooked. This video game is cooked. Chat, is this real? Is this real, chat? How much money do you need for world domination? I think it probably makes sense to go in phases. So if I could get probably about $12 billion for the first phase, I could build a deep water port up in the high Arctic, and then I could start moving equipment up there, and I could build an underground city with the equipment. But the first step will be the deep water port, I think. So yeah, if you could just super chat $12 billion, that would be great. Instant appeal. How much do you have? Currently, I've got $16.29 Canadian. So I'm basically I'm well on my way. I think it'll take some time. Yeah, it'll take a while, but you know, Rome was not built in a day. It's all about the hustle and the grind set. All right, the menu can appear now. It's time for TUI coin. Yeah, I need to do a rug pull. What next? had someone try to steal my dog today, apparently. Wow, that's random. That's a weird thing to do, but it's also like such a horrible thing to do. I mean, I'm not a fan of dogs, honestly, but taking someone's pet. I was at a communal pool, had her tied up at the fence area. Some lady went up, tried to take her leash and stuff. Strange. Maybe it's just like a crazy person. Is it like an expensive, rare breed or something? Everyone thinks she's a pretty dog. Not purebred. I don't know. Yeah, I mean that's the other thing. Like who does that? What kind of person would just steal a dog? What are they intending to do with it? In my area, people think they are entitled to do whatever they want half the time. California attitude. Pets aren't allowed in that area, which is why. Oh yeah, maybe they were gonna like yell at you and be like, "You're not supposed to have that here." Must be writing to the layer below. Oh yeah. I am. Nice. Now we got a cool looking menu with text in it. I could see that, but it's like 15 feet away. Didn't seem to bother communicating. Yeah, I don't know. If it's California, could be any number of crazy things going on down there. All right, it's 1:37 a.m. and I got the main thing done that I wanted done. So I think I'll call it a stream. This was a successful stream. Got some progress on the block mining simulation game. Got some new chat revenue. So I will be back tomorrow. See you then.